Hey guys, here we are on Crescent Beach in Wells, Maine. And in this video, we're going to talk about what it's like to live on Crescent Beach because I had a house here right on the ocean for almost 10 years. We're going to talk about how far away the grocery stores are, where the great restaurants are in terms of proximity, how many minutes it takes to get there. This is a really great area to rent a place. This is a public beach, but there's minimal parking, so there's not a lot of people coming here. I'm also going to take you up in a drone and show you what the area looks like. Got a lot to cover. We're going to start right now. Margaret and I love putting these videos together for you. Our job, first and foremost, is as realtors. So if you're looking at buying a property in Wells Ogunquit and you need a realtor who's familiar with the area, knows what it's like to go to school here, live and work, rent properties out, Margaret and I would love to help you. And you'll find our contact details in the description down below. Thank you.
All right, let's make sure we're all on the same page. If you're going to go to Wells, which is this dotted red circle here, you're probably going to fly into Boston because it's like an hour and 30 minutes away, 90 minutes. You can fly into Portland, guys. You know, it's only 45 minutes to Wells from Portland. But if it's wintertime, your flight gets delayed, rain or something like that, you could be spending an extra day wherever your connecting flight is because just there's not as many flights out of Portland. So bite the bullet, guys. I always flew out of Boston, just so much easier. Speaking from a Maine native, yeah, it's definitely worth flying out of Boston. So there's New Hampshire right there, and if you zoom in into this area, you got the Piscataqua River here, it's Portsmouth, and then it goes Kittery, York, Ogunquit, and then Wells, and we're going to talk about Wells. Specifically Crescent Beach. There's several beaches along here, and I'll bring Google Maps back up in a minute and talk about that, but let's get to some footage. All right, guys, way off in the distance, that's Ogunquit, and that beach right there is Ogunquit Beach. Part of it is also Moody Beach, but remember, you cannot use Moody Beach. There's no parking for it other than the Ogunquit parking, and Moody Beach, you can only walk on it. You cannot loiter because of a lawsuit, so you can just forget about that beach. This is Fisherman's Cove right here, where I've never seen anybody fishing. And then this is the beginning of Crescent Beach, which is the focus of today's video. That off in the distance, that is Mount Agamenicus. Okay, guys, right there as we come around, that's your public parking, about 30 places. And there are a couple of porta potties there. It's about 1,000 feet from the entrance to the public Crescent Beach. All right, guys, and as we circle around here, I'm going to stop the footage one more time to show you something. All right, guys, that right there, that was the house that I sold back in 2018. Before I sold it, I got lots of good videos. I learned a ton about this beach from living on it for so many years. So I'm going to give you all of that in today's video because this is a pros and cons. We're going to start pointing out those pros and cons here. We've already covered a few of them. So what I also want to point out here is that this is probably the beach that gets hit the hardest by storms. A lot of erosion, a lot of sand lost in the wintertime. Most of it comes back every summer. I'm going to make sure I point out that. That's going to be part of the pros and cons. Talk about Days Lane right over there, how that floods several times a year. But everything you see in view here is over $1 million when it sells. And if it's down deep on Days Lane, it's still going to sell for $500,000 and up, guys. Very expensive area to live. All right, guys, let's just bring the drone in closer to the beach and bring it down so we can take a look at the beach. This area right here is actually, in the summertime, a really good break for surfing when it's breaking. In the wintertime, when we've lost that, 8 or so feet of sand, the surfing is terrible. It's mostly choppy pretty much all the time. But summertime, it's great. Okay, guys, let's just make sure everybody's got their bearings. We got Moody Beach right here where you can only walk. There are plenty of public accesses, though. So if you want to get down there, you got Fisherman's Cove right here. Then you've got the public parking. Drilling out right there where you got the 30 spots and the porta potties, about 1,000 feet to the public access to the beach. This is public beach right here, Crescent Beach. And I'm going to start the video right here and start showing you what the beach looks like in the winter and in the summer. You're going to find this amazing. And this house right here, before and after the porch was torn off. Let's get to it. All right, guys, I actually found some old footage from the winter time. There's the public parking straight ahead. It's Fisherman's Cove. We're heading backwards up to the entrance, and but this is going to give you a really good idea of what it looks like even in the wintertime, which I think is very important if you're looking at real estate in the area. Boy, that can really mess you up when you're looking at things in reverse like this. Cars going backwards. All right, so now we're going to head down the ramp there, and as I swing to the right, that's the house right there that I want to show you before and after storm pictures of. Take a look at this. On Crescent Beach, guys, all of the houses, I lived here year-round for many years, they all get hammered by waves. And this house, you know, was just a good opportunity to take a photos before and after. Water came in and ripped the porch right off, and they just rebuild, and you budget for this every year. Still a great investment. The other thing I want to point out is no sand. In the wintertime, there's no sand in front of these houses. So I just want to show you both seasons. And I know, guys, if I didn't have these pictures, it would be hard to believe me. So that's why I go out here all year to get these great photos for you guys. All right, this is another great example, guys. In this case, about 5, maybe 6 feet of sand came in. But look in the wintertime, you know, I've seen it worse than this too. You know, you're missing a lot of sand there that pretty much comes back every summer. All right, so you might be thinking, well, hey, I don't really care. You know, I mean, the sand comes back every summer for a few months. I don't really care. Well, there is a tremendous downside to losing all this sand that comes back and it almost all comes back. It's actually getting worse and worse every year. And I've noticed a tremendous difference over the last 20 years, you know, of like 3 or 4 feet. So what I mean by that is all these homes that are on the ocean here, pretty much all of them leak. You know, the windows, around the windows, there might be a few that don't, but pretty much, you know, I replaced all the windows and all the bitchathane on the side of my house, and my windows still leaked. These houses shake in the wintertime because there's less sand, and so the waves are hitting the seawall a lot harder. You know, as far as the noise from the waves in the wintertime, I didn't like it that much. There's a lot of erosion behind the walls. I'll show you that in just a second. A lot of closed roads in the wintertime because of a lot of flooding. Then there's also a lot of rusted and corroded parts on all your outside fixtures. You can't leave anything outside, even if it's stainless, it's going to rust. And then, of course, there's the stairs down to the beach. You know, a lot of people lose their stairs down to the beach if you don't get them out at just the right tide. And I mean just the right tide, because, you know, 2 feet of sand there surrounding your stairs, you're trying to pull them out before the next tide because you'll lose them. And I've lost them, and I've seen several neighbors lose their stairs. So what you're seeing here, guys, is just some winter footage. Not a storm. You know, you can see the waves are coming over. It's flooding behind the wall. And it's happened all the time. The noise from this and the shaking of the house was just more than I could stand after a while. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to list all these pros and cons before the end of the video. Just stay tuned. Now, I know you guys are thinking, oh, but in the summertime, look at it. It's so beautiful. That's the same fence right there on my house that I sold. The waves crashing over. That's the same beach, guys, that we've been showing both in the winter and in the summertime. And it's just gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. The waves crash very gently in the summertime, and, you know, because there's 6, 7, as much as 9 feet of sand that come in. And it's just gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And that's why, you know, these houses, one of the pros I want to point it out for my house, you know, you'd get about $15,000 a week, not a month, guys, a week. So the amount of money you can get from renting these houses is absolutely incredible. That's why you budget for it. You know, you're like, hey, I know I'm going to have so much damage, and I'm just going to reinvest it. And these properties are a great investment, but you need to be aware of the damage they can take and the amount of destruction, look at this yard, that you're going to be dealing with pretty much every year. And the flooding, guys, this was across Webhannet. You can see Webhannet flooded completely all the way across. There's the mailman getting through there. So that parking I had across the street and all around that pump house for sewage, it gets much worse than this. And guys, this was a storm, but it doesn't have to be a storm. I know I've said that multiple times, but this happens regularly on Webhannet and Crescent Beach. And this is, the news would come down and film near our house. So I actually, coincidentally, was watching the news, and I was like, hey, that's those people outside. So I went over to my door. I'm like, yeah, it's really them. You know, they're outside filming this live right now, right in front of my house. And I went back to the TV just to verify that. So yeah, it was fun. But, you know, at the same time, there's a lot of positives. And don't worry, guys, hang in there. I'm going to list them all, positive pros and cons, at the end.
Hey, guys, if you're finding this video informative and you're a giving person, please give it a like. Thank you.
Let's cruise along the top of the seawalls and see what's going on here. And you can see, if you don't have one of these concrete patio areas, which the DEP does not allow anymore, people do it anyway. But look at all the fill this person's lost. I bet there's 20 yards, you know, 30 yards that has to be filled in right there. Again, concrete right underneath the concrete patio area, totally undermined. You know, you have to bring in lots of fill. Even on my property that's coming up, you know, I'd have to bring in 5, 6, 8 yards of sand right here every single spring. And, you know, you got to work with the neighbor to bring the sand up because there's very little room between the houses. There's old seawalls in the water there. And again, these concrete areas, you know, you can't do it anymore. People do. There's a sinkhole right there. This is the place that lost the porch. All right, let's bring this drone in for a landing. Now it's time to talk about some of the positives about living on Crescent Beach in the area, and there are a lot of them. So I'm just going to zoom out here. We were talking about Days Lane and showing all the flooding that happens right along there in the wintertime, in the winter storms. Let's take a look at the location here for a second. So if you're along Crescent Beach, to get to Hannaford's, you're going to go right up the Mile Road, and there's Hannaford's right there. Boom. So grocery shopping is really, really close. Rennie's, great department store, pizza, the you know, great restaurants along the Mile Road, you know, Billy's Chowder House. And then if you want to get to Ogunquit, what I loved about this location is there's actually, because Wells Beach is an island, guys, and there's 4 roads to get down to the Barrier Island, all the way down as far as Bourne Ave. So if you want to avoid Route 1 traffic on Saturday and Sundays, you just cruise along the beach and learn the shortcuts. You know, there's Bourne, there's Furbush, there's Eldridge, and then there's Mile Road. So I thought that was kind of really nice that there were several ways to get out of there if I wanted to, you know, not get stuck in tourist traffic. The rental rates along the beach and Crescent Beach are sky high. I already pointed out how, you know, you're going to get $15,000 or more if it's a nice house in the summertime, as long as you have really good parking. I can help you identify properties that are going to do really well just because I rented mine for several years down there. Snow melts very quickly down there. If you go 10 miles inland, you know, you're going to get a lot more. So I would say at least double. So you go to, you know, another 15 miles beyond that inland, you're going to get double that. I mean, just, it's crazy. You know, along the coast, you get very little snow. So that's a benefit for most people. They don't want to deal with a lot of snow. I mentioned close to Hannaford's, it's dead in the wintertime. I was the only house being lived in on Crescent Beach in the wintertime for obvious reasons. It gets pretty crazy down there for wintertime. But the reason why I wanted to live down there, guys, is the public schools are fantastic. They're like, you know, one of the best public schools in the entire state. So both my daughters went to the Wells school system. I really like that the beach is public. So I want to point that out. And, you know, with my house, I got both a sunrise and sunset, you know, and in the wintertime in Maine, you know, the sun setting 4:12, 4:13 in the afternoon, having that sunrise and sunset, because there's no trees on the beach, you know, you're getting sunrise and sunset. At least I did with my property over the marsh, because I had a nice view of the marsh. It's absolutely awesome. And my wife and I still miss that today. And then, of course, the location. I loved my neighbors. I love the location, being down there on the beach. The community was fantastic. And overall, I would have to say it was a great experience. Still glad I sold my house, bought one down in Florida. But, you know, those are some of the positives. Guys, if you are thinking about moving to Southern Maine, we have a relocation guide that you can download for free. Inside, you'll find great information on all the towns in York County, allowing you to see how these towns compare in terms of things like population, school systems, whether or not there are any lakes or rivers. I even list if there's a cute downtown area, if this is something that's important to you. You'll learn all this and much more, and there's a link to this guide in the description down below. All right, guys, it's time to list out all of the pros and cons so that we can make sure that we have the best understanding of what it's like living on Crescent Beach in Wells, Maine. First of all, let's list off those cons. Most of the houses that are on the ocean, they leak when it's bad storm because the rain comes in horizontally and pushes really hard on the houses, so they pretty much leak around the windows. They all shake if they live on Crescent Beach when the waves hit. It's just a fact of life, but you're only going to feel it in the wintertime when you lose all that sand every year. That's another con. The noise from the waves in the winter may not bother you. It did me, so I'm going to call that a con. Erosion behind the seawalls is a problem for all of these homes on Crescent Beach, so you'll be dealing with that every year unless you can put in a captain's walk, which the DEP won't allow. Flooding will cause closed roads if you have friends visiting you, or even, your car is going to be going through very deep water sometimes. Rusted and corroded parts, even stainless will corrode on the ocean. And then finally, stairs to the beach, you really got to watch it on Crescent Beach. You have to have stairs if you want to get down there, unless you want to use the public access. Now, in terms of pros, I seldom lost power during storms. Snow melts quickly and you get a lot less snow than you will 10 miles inland. The rental rates are sky high. If you want to make this an investment property, you're going to do very, very well. It's very close to Hannaford's, the grocery store, only a couple of miles. You can really just walk if you wanted to get some exercise. And the big box stores in Sanford and Biddeford aren't that far away. So those are definitely pros. It's dead in the wintertime, which I kind of liked, a break from all the traffic. The grocery stores, the restaurants aren't quite as busy. They're still busy because, a lot of people from inland, like Sanford and Dayton, they like to go to restaurants on the coast as well. You get a sunrise and sunset. If you're inland, you might be surrounded by trees. So that's another pro. The school system in Wells is excellent. Really, really good. And that's the primary reason I came to the area. And the other reason, the last pro I'll put down, is a great area, close to Agunquit, Kennebunkport, fun neighborhood. Just loved it. There you go, guys.
If you'd like to learn everything there is to know about living in Southern Maine, click subscribe and tap the bell so that you'll be the first to learn about the current market in Southern Maine. We get calls and text messages every day from people just like you looking to move in 9 days to 90 days. Just give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or our favorite, schedule a Zoom. We can help you make a smooth move to Southern Maine.
And until next time, guys, Margaret and I hope to show you around town.